The game that I was hoping would be awesome was the Dallas Cowboys against the Minnesota Vikings. And instead of being a fun, get your popcorn ready, exciting, great game, it was a game that was actually still fun to watch because one team is killing it and just dominating. But unfortunately, it was not a competitive game at all because the Dallas Cowboys dominated the Minnesota Vikings and Dallas won 40-3. They were up halfway through the third quarter, 37-3. Like, they slowed down in the second half. But on both sides of the ball, Dallas was absolutely dominant. And I would say this was a very, very impressive win. The Cowboys ran for over 150 yards. Shout out to Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. He basically played a perfect game. He was 22 for 25 passing, 276 yards, 2 touchdown passes. This game, in my opinion, showed how dangerous the Dallas Cowboys can be. They run the ball really well. When Dak Prescott is playing well, the best of Dak Prescott is terrifyingly good. I don't know that he's consistently that good, and I have an open mind because he can change my mind. He's been hurt. Maybe it's taken a while to get back from injury. Dak is maybe fully healthy. I don't know. But what we saw from Dak on Sunday was absolutely incredible. And if he did that every week, if Dak played the way he did on Sunday every week, I would say that's a Super Bowl team. I just haven't seen that consistently week to week. But really what I think is most scary about the Dallas Cowboys and what they really flexed their muscles and showed on Sunday was, the Cowboys' defensive line can take over games. They sacked Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins 7 times on Sunday. Basically, the Cowboys' defensive line and front 7 ruined the entire Vikings offensive plan. And it's also not the first time I've seen Dallas do that this year. It reminded me of their game week 3 at New York against the Giants where they sacked Daniel Jones 5 times and just didn't matter what Daniel Jones was doing. Nothing was right. Nothing was possible because everything they tried didn't work because the defensive line was getting so much pressure and was so dominant. And it makes me wonder, watching Dallas absolutely obliterate Minnesota, it's not just that they did it. It's the way they did it with their defensive line leading the way. A really good defensive line grabs my attention and really, really scares me. Because a really good defensive line, we have seen historically, if your defensive line is getting pressure on a quarterback with a 4-man rush, meaning we can play coverage, we don't need to do anything special in blitz, we're just beating offensive linemen in one-on-one matchups. If you can win and get pressure with a 4-man rush, that's a team that can absolutely get to and maybe even win a Super Bowl. We saw the Giants beat the Patriots. The 18-0 incredible New England Patriots, they fell. David beat Goliath with Michael Strahan and that really good Giants defensive line taking down the Patriots. We saw the 49ers a couple years ago go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, kind of pulling Jimmy Garoppolo along with a really good defensive team. Robert Saleh was their defensive coordinator. I think of Nick Bosa leading the way. They had a really great defensive line. They lost to Kansas City, but that defensive line was incredible and almost did win them the game. If Jimmy Garoppolo completes a really great pass downfield at the end, the 49ers win that Super Bowl rather than lose. And that's the power of a defensive line. Also, Tampa. When Tom Brady won a Super Bowl his first year in Tampa, their defensive line was absolutely incredible. So a scary good defensive line can take over games, and Dallas has that. So I just go back to this. I want to repeat it one more time. If you are capable of getting pressure without blitzing, without committing extra defenders to get after the quarterback, it's a 4-man rush, you're beating offensive linemen and winning one-on-one matchups, that is a terrifying thought. And, I was pretty cut and dry the other day. I said, look, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, this leadership structure cannot win a Super Bowl in Dallas. I'll tell you what, I will be proven wrong if Dak Prescott plays the way he did on Sunday week to week. He was, again, 22 for 25 passing, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns, like 200-something yards passing, really clean, really efficient, really accurate, played very well. If he does that every week and this defensive line can consistently get pressure the way they have recently, that's a dominating force. The problem is, and I think it goes back to the coach in Dallas, Mike McCarthy, the product that Dallas puts on the field week to week isn't consistent enough. But what we saw on Sunday, like I called my shot the other day. I said, this team is not going to win a Super Bowl the way it is now. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, this group isn't going to work. But if they keep getting pressure with that defensive line and Dak plays really well, I will be proven wrong. And I kind of hope I'm wrong. I think Dallas winning a Super Bowl would be incredible for the NFL. It's been so long since they've been good. Their fan base is so big. There's so much passion. I acknowledge that the league I love, the NFL, would be even better if the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. I don't think they can for reasons I've said before. But this was a game watching. I watched Dallas dominate Minnesota, and I thought to myself, man, people are going to clip that out later. People are going to find that soundbite of you declaring that the Cowboys cannot win a Super Bowl. And in February, when this team plays the way they did on Sunday and wins a Super Bowl, you're going to get reminded very, very harshly of the time you declared the fact that the Cowboys could not win a Super Bowl. And it made me scared. It made me go, oh, man, I might get proven wrong. And I can admit when I'm wrong. But very, very impressive win for the Cowboys on Sunday. Round of applause. It was very well done. And I walked away going, the Cowboys gained a little bit of respect from me. Now, for Minnesota, this loss was a red flag in my opinion. The Vikings, 40-3, you get dominated by Dallas. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you're playing. You can't lose 40-3 and be expected to be a Super Bowl contender. You gave up 7 sacks. I know you lost your left tackle, Christian Darrisaw. You got a concussion, but this is also the second week in a row Christian Darrisaw has missed time due to a concussion. Now it's becoming a problem. Hey, is your left tackle going to be available? And also, a Super Bowl team doesn't lose games 40-3. They just don't. And I find myself today looking at Minnesota kind of with a side eye. I don't want to overreact here. But I also have said before, Minnesota plays a lot of close games more than I'm comfortable with. I think the way they beat Buffalo wasn't clean. They found a way to win that game against Buffalo, this crazy game where Josh Allen fumbles on his own 1-yard line, but it wasn't, I said it even at the time, that win over Buffalo wasn't that impressive because both teams had so many opportunities to win. I tried to be optimistic in that moment. And I know Vikings fans want to see their team get credit, but if you're a Vikings fan, are you not a little bit worried today that what we saw was terrible? I mean, Kirk Cousins is still your quarterback, and the reputation of Kirk Cousins is not exactly a guy who's going to dominate in a big moment. The Vikings play in a bad division. They play a lot of close games. Kirk is their quarterback. I just want to say this loss was a very alarming loss for Minnesota. I'm having a hard time not overreacting, but I thought for sure, win or lose, Minnesota was going to compete and be close and interesting. And the fact that they just got absolutely obliterated, it just raises a red flag for me where I go, oh, that's a concern. And if you're not concerned and you're a Vikings fan, you're lying. That could not have felt good to watch on Sunday. And I looked at myself in the mirror and was like, Zach, do you really think this team can win a Super Bowl? I know you said they can, but maybe I got to flip-flop it. Maybe Dallas is the contender and Minnesota's the pretender. I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time here because I don't want to strongly overreact here. But to say that I reconsidered my stance on the Cowboys, that's true. And then to say that I wasn't a little bit concerned watching Minnesota get obliterated, it did raise a red flag for me. I think that's reasonable to say, hey, maybe Dallas is better than you think, and maybe Minnesota is kind of a pretender. I'm not declaring that, but I think it's totally reasonable to wonder both things after this game because the way Dallas dominated and the way Minnesota got dominated just kind of has to grab your attention here.